Hey guys, just another quick tip. If you guys love flying the stabilized type receivers like the S6R, which I am a huge fan of, although they do have some quirks, and I've gone over some of those quirks in my videos. They are great receivers to have. They have the functions of the Spectrum receivers, but they also offer you a manual mode where you have no stability whatsoever, as opposed to the Spectrum stabilized receivers, which you always have stabilization on, you can't turn it off, or you have safe mode, which gives you limited bank angles for beginner pilots and whatnot. The one problem that you will have with these S6Rs, or any stabilized receiver for that matter, is when you get it all trimmed up in either manual mode or stabilized mode, and when you go ahead and throw it into safe mode, or auto balance, what I call on this radio, it doesn't necessarily fly straight because the receiver is trying to balance the plane according to how the receiver is positioned inside the plane. So if you don't have that receiver set up correctly, and if it's not sitting perfectly level in the plane, it can oftentimes, when you throw it into safe mode, the plane can fly pitched up or pitched down. And the problem that you will come into with that is that if you try to trim it up in safe mode, that's also going to affect the trims in your other modes, manual and stabilized. So you'll fix the trim on one flight mode, but it'll affect the trim on all flight modes. So basically, it's kind of like whack-a-mole. You're affecting the trim on all three flight modes, and safe mode oftentimes won't fly the same as stabilized mode. So there's a real easy solution to this. Instead of trying to bang your head into the wall like I've done many times, repositioning the receiver and trying to get it as straight as I possibly can inside the fuselage, it just never seems to be completely correct when you throw it into safe. And there's a real easy trick to do this, and I've never really gotten into flight modes, but it's a real easy way to correct that. So what you want to do is you want to go into your flight modes, and what you want to do is you want to set this up. So I've already got it set up here. You got flight mode 1, and I have it on my SE position here, my SE up. And then I got
auto balance, stabilization on.
SE middle is stabilized, and then
Stabilization off.
or manual mode is down here.
Stabilization on.
So the way that you can make it so that you can basically have multiple sets of trims based on the flight mode you're in is you want to go ahead and assign a value to your trims for each flight mode. So for example, for my safe mode or auto balance mode, I have it set to number 1. Stabilized mode, I have given it a value of 2. Now manual mode, you could give it a value of 3 here, but I've got that at set at 2 as well, for the simple fact that manual and stabilized mode are pretty much going to fly the same way with the trims. The problems come in when you throw it into safe mode and the receiver is trying to auto balance or auto level the plane. That's where you come into the trim problems. So what I normally do is I will set the safe mode to position to 1, and set the stability mode and the manual mode, and this is in regards to the S6R receivers, to a value of 2. So this way what happens is if you set your trim in stabilized mode, it's going to affect both the trim in stabilized mode and the trim in manual mode. If you're in safe mode and you set the trims, it's only going to affect the trims while you're flying in safe mode. So thus you can set trims in safe mode and they will not affect the trims in stabilized mode and or manual mode. Now, with the Spectrum receivers, you don't have manual mode, so you will just have basically 2 flight modes, which is safe, which is the auto balance mode, and then AS3X, which is your stabilized mode. So you only have like 1 and 2 here. But for the S6R, and one of the reasons why I like the S6R, there's many reasons, but why I like it better than the Spectrum stabilized receivers is that you do have the option of having no stability at all. You could have manual mode, which they don't even offer on the Spectrum receivers, and sometimes you just want no stabilization at all. So what I do here is I just keep stabilized mode and manual mode. I have given them the same trim positions at value of 2, and once again the safe or auto balance mode, I have the trim position set at 1. So let me show you how that works on your transmitter. So okay, so right now
Auto balance.
I'm in auto balance mode. So I'm going to set the elevator up all the way over here, as you can see. Okay. Now when I flip it
Stabilization on.
to stabilize mode and or manual mode, you see how the trims haven't moved. So it's only affecting when I'm in safe mode. So this way, if your plane is flying in safe, and this happens all the time, once again, where it's not really flying perfectly level in safe, because it's really hard to get the receiver perfectly level inside the plane. This is a great way to level it out in safe mode. You can fool around with your trim positions without affecting the way it's flying in your stabilized and or manual mode. So for example here, so on safe mode, I have the elevator going up in the trim position, as you can see. So let's bring it to the stabilized mode, and I'm going to put the elevator trim way down. Okay? So here's what happens. So you flip it to auto balance. It goes right back up to the trim position for flight mode 1.
Stabilization on.
Flight mode 2, which is the stabilized mode, goes back here where I set it.
Stabilization on.
And also for manual mode, because I have manual mode and stabilized mode both set to a value of 2. Now, once again, you could put the manual mode, give the trim value of 3, and you would have 3 different sets of trim values. Although, once again, manual and stabilized mode basically fly the same way. The only thing that stabilized mode is doing is just kind of leveling your plane out a little bit. It's just different than safe mode, which is automatically trying to auto level your plane. So that's a quick tip for you guys there. That will definitely help you out, because I was kind of banging my head, always trying to get the receiver really level, and so anytime I fly it in safe mode, which isn't very often, I personally just use safe mode as kind of an oh crap switch. If I get disoriented or if bad things are about to happen, I can quick throw it into safe mode to hopefully save the plane. But if your plane isn't flying straight and level in safe mode, that might not happen the way you're hoping it's going to happen. So this way, it's a real quick way of stop banging your head in the wall trying to get that receiver perfectly level in the plane. You can have separate trim values, and that way you can do it right through the radio. Now, the one thing I want to mention before I forget is I recommend applying these flight modes to a new model when you first set it up. Now, there's probably a way to do this, and if somebody knows how to do it, I would love if you guys comment in the comment section, because I don't know how to do it myself personally, but knowing OpenTX, there's got to be a way to do it. But what will happen is if you set these flight modes to a already established model, and I learned this the hard way the first time I set this up, it will reset all the trims to perfectly neutral, all of them. So you got your trims already set up, and you add the flight modes afterwards, it's going to put everything back to neutral, to 0. Everything's going to be in the middle, the trims. So definitely want to keep that in mind. And if anybody knows how to get around that, how to keep the trim positions where they are and add the flight mode trims afterwards, let me know, put in the comments. But as far as I know right now, that's the only way I know how to do it, is doing it from a fresh model before you actually set the trim values. So anyways, I hope that helps anybody that's looking for an easier way to balance out some of these stabilized receivers. And I'm just talking about the S6R, but these would also function in any type of stabilized receiver, mostly like the Spectrum receivers and whatnot, what I'm thinking. So, but I hope that, guys, helps you out. And, guys, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.